And we are live, and I can see them opening up the doors.
Thank you very much. So I'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I can move to refer item 9.1 back to the next council meeting on November 24th.
Thank you. And that remain private pursuant to sections 26 and 29. Moved by Councillor Tang, seconded by Councillor Paquette. Please vote.
Just waiting for one. We have all the votes.
Thank you. Please display the vote. That is carried. And on item 9.2, we just need a motion to keep that in private, subject to sections 19, 22, 29, and 30, the Access to Information Act. Do I have somebody moving that?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Paquette.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Elliott. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Thank you. Please display the vote. That is carried. We have 2 items remaining and likely not enough time, but we'll do what we can on 7.1.
All right, just a quick question for process. Since we already know if people have questions, they've already determined that. Do we require a presentation? I've read the report.
I can ask my colleagues if they require the presentation. If anyone wants that presentation, you're welcome to request it. But if you don't feel...
We can go straight to question.
Everyone is... I'm not hearing anyone request a presentation. Okay, then we can go straight to question. Perfect. Okay. Councillor Tang, you selected it. Please go ahead.
Yep,
oh, and actually, sorry, can you make the motion?
Yep, I was about to do that.
Thank you.
I'll move that we receive this information, this report for information.
Second.
Oh, wait, it's information. Wasn't there? Oh, well, then actually, you don't even need to make that motion based off our previous thing. So thank you. So just go ahead and ask questions.
Yep. Thank you very much for this report. This is the, I know that there's a sequence to this 2-part motion that I helped to develop. I want to ask a bit about your conversation with industry partners. I understand that some felt that they weren't necessarily engaged, but is this the appropriate time for that conversation? And did you talk to anybody about some of the infrastructure delivery method, and why is it that it's appropriate to engage more broadly sort of in the next stage?
Councillor, Sarah, do you want to go ahead?
Go ahead, Pascal.
Okay. So Councillor Tang, so the way the motion was structured, it asked administration to review the capital investments, like our priorities as a city, that would make the most sense to bring forward to industry. And so we did that step mostly internally. We did do some informal consultation. We had some ideas coming from unsolicited proposals or informal discussion with industry partners. But truly, the industry sounding will take place in the next phase, which is the request for expression of interest, which basically is an advanced market sounding that really creates that level playing field so that anyone looking to work with the city on our priorities will have a chance to submit their ideas. And we will work with some of the industry associations to ensure that the process itself is built as open and allowing for the most innovative ideas and approaches to come forward.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Sarah, do you have anything to add? Because I do understand you've had a bit of a back and forth with external partners to kind of further develop this, because, you know, this is not typically how a city develops an infrastructure project.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, you know, I'm always open to hearing about different approaches and good ideas. I think we've talked about the needs within our city, and I think we're looking at what the private sector can offer and how we as a city can be flexible in our requirements to allow for innovation and ideas to come forward. At this point, we're not moving into awarding a contract or a formal proposal. This is a way of making sure that we allow that formal opportunity for good ideas to come forward, and then we can build that into our capital plans going forward. I think the other piece is that this is about seizing innovation, but it's also not entirely new. We would lease space, and we would work with others in a variety of ways. And so I know that this is just really trying to create that openness and that opportunity so that private sector can identify how they meet their needs. And yes, I have met with folks from industry before today.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the principle was to have a very early engagement. You know, ideally earlier the better, but, you know, I understand you have some parameters. And so if we don't kind of move forward with this report, then those 4 projects probably won't be prioritized because they are growth projects, right?
It's a bit early to say, Councillor Tang. I think the process around like the budget development would inform that, but definitely.
But I guess I'm saying they are growth, and we're not prioritizing growth. I think that's made very clear because we have a renewal deficit. And then just with the federal budget that was just passed, I did see a provision around certain infrastructure funding requiring private sector co-investment. Would you be looking, like, you know, if something comes to fruition, like, would that be an opportunity that could be available to us?
Thank you, Councillor. I think the federal government has identified opportunities using the Canada Infrastructure Bank, and I've met with officials in numerous roles over years with Infrastructure Bank, and I think we will be reviewing submissions from our private sector partners against kind of the eligibility criteria that the Infrastructure Bank, but also being really aware that the Infrastructure Bank typically is a funding that also...
I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. I appreciate this approach, and I was just wondering how we're going to be advertising the RFEOI. So I know typically vendors have to be in our system to receive alerts, but I feel like in projects like this, it really behooves us to make it as wide a tent as possible, engaging with treaty partners, engaging with nonprofit development groups, for example. So how are we ensuring that the word is out very broadly in the community?
Councillor Stevenson, we haven't worked through the details of that process just yet, but I think we agree, like definitely we agree with your question here around how do we make this as broad as we can. And so it's a great flag of something that we'll need to assess. There is formal ways to do these types of processes, but we can certainly show as much flexibility as we can within the boundaries of, you know, transparency and equity.
Yeah, I really appreciate that because I know we run into some challenges with procurement law and how that's managed. But I think sometimes we can miss out on some opportunities. So appreciate that you're taking that away, and we'll be looking to get that broad cross section. There's also reference to the development of a social infrastructure framework and related assessment tool to assess community resources and gaps. What are the timelines on that? Pascal?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody from Community Services on the call. Otherwise, we can take it away, Councillor Stevenson, and get back to you.
Sure, that's great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Wright?
Thank you. One of the points in here is in regards to community benefit. And so how do we define that? How do we determine that? And how do we ensure that it's ongoing throughout the operation of the facility?
Thank you, Councillor. I think community benefit is always a really important part, which is why I think at the beginning we're starting with an RFEOI. I think if we go into something like this, we could predefine all of the requirements and then we're going to lose some of the innovation. And so I think what we need to do is make sure that we have that RFEOI that allows kind of a broad range of ideas to come forward. And then in future procurement cycles and in the decision-making role of council, we can identify what the priorities are in the formal submissions and the contract negotiations down the road. And so I think we have to kind of allow for our partners to identify what those benefits could be. And then we can identify and work with council on what those priorities are going forward.
Okay, and then I'm also concerned as well with the employees. I mean, our minimum wage in Alberta is still at $15 an hour, but yet our own wages for city staff are higher than that, living wage and that. And I'm just wondering how we ensure that is maintained.
I think at these early stages, we're not contemplating a contract, but I think we can ask those kind of questions in submissions of what they would do, and then we can contemplate those kind of requirements in a future procurement like an RFP.
Okay, so we're just right now putting out a few things.
Give us your
Throw out-
ideas.
Okay, and we will consider them more fully when they come back. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, and just wanted to mention that I mentioned earlier my wife was working for EFR Dispatch, and I reviewed this presentation and consulted with some advice from legal, and I have no conflict of interest to declare. So just want to make that clear. I did have a question though. Is there potential for developer-led developments or redevelopments with these items? I'm thinking mostly Windermere, I guess. That's one of the items.
Yes, absolutely. I think we're looking for partnerships that could be a wide range of solutions to what we're putting forward, depending on the requirements. And I think the report goes into things like the type of land or the type of agreement we're looking at. There might be different requirements, and so that we'll work through that on each of the individual assets. But in terms of looking for ideas, yes, there could be a wide range of partners that may submit to the RFEOI.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Principe, do you have 5 minutes of questions, or we've got about 3 minutes
Probably
left?
even less than that.
Wonderful. Go ahead.
If history repeats itself.
Go for it.
Just trying to understand the list of the projects of investments not selected for consideration. How is there a list of investments not selected for consideration? Because there must be thousands of possible projects. So just trying to get an understanding of why there's a list of not selected for consideration.
So Councillor Principe, so the principle that we applied is that we looked initially at everything that council would have discussed as a priority infrastructure project that was related to a facility. And so we boiled it down to basically those 10 projects that you see in attachment 2. And then we further applied additional criteria to understand where do we have land available, that the service delivery and the resident needs. We applied things like asset rationalization frameworks and looked at opportunities for housing development. And those came to those 4 projects being selected for consideration. And so we just made the difference between all of the facility priorities that council had identified through different processes, which ones lend themselves to this initial process or not. And as you'll note in attachment 2, some of these projects are actually undergoing a similar process. So Rossdale Power Plant, for example, has a request for information that's already underway, which is a bit more site specific, but has the same idea of looking for partnerships and support for the development of that infrastructure. And so
Okay,
hopefully
good.
that,
And I was going to ask about Riverbend as well, library. I know that it's not number one priority for EPL, and just wondering, and I see that it says work is already underway. Does that mean it wasn't selected for consideration because it's already under consideration?
yeah, exactly. So our colleagues on the Housing Accelerator team have partnered with Edmonton Public Library to consider the site for a partnership development. And they're basically ahead of the process here that we've identified for these 4 other projects. And so since they were ahead, we didn't want to kind of hold them back and just see that they're leading this process with somewhat different parameters because it is being led by the Housing Accelerator and the priorities related to that.
Okay, and I just wanted to flag a couple of things here on the north side that we have had discussion about football or soccer arena by YMCA on the north side here in Castle Downs with Seahawks football. So that is something that I'd like to flag for administration, as well as a soccer center on the north side. I know there has been some discussion with a couple of different proponents in regards to soccer centers on the north side. So I just wanted to flag that as well for administration.
Orders.
Thanks.
Are you calling orders?
I am.
And I'm done. Good timing.
Just to be clear, if orders are called, that means we come tomorrow to a council meeting? Okay. Then we are currently scheduled. So what happens when orders are called? Is that we are required, although we have a public hearing scheduled tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
So that would mean that it would be Thursday at 9:30, is that correct?
End up with a bit of an impossible situation because your bylaw says that you come back the next day unless you specify another day. So it might be really good to specify another day or to deal with quickly the items.
Okay,
If
I
Councilor
can
Paquette will
withdraw,
allow it.
but I think the point has been made.
okay, yep.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to extend by 15 minutes,
By 15 minutes?
to adjourn at 5:15. Yep.
So there's a motion to extend orders by 15 minutes. I can take is there a seconder for that?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Salvador.
To speak?
To speak to extending the orders by 15 minutes, I can go over to Councillor Paquette. I will have to turn over the chair to Councillor Rutherford as I have to go welcome a guest who is visiting from afar. So the chair is yours.
I have the chair,
Thank you.
and so we have a motion to extend orders to adjourn at 5:15. I see that somebody's on the board to speak, so I will go to Councillor Paquette to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The fact that the mayor has to leave is precisely my point, especially in these first weeks of re-election. There's enormous amounts of pressure on all our calendars, I am sure. And I will have to move something as well if I am to stay. If I don't stay, I will miss votes. And so I think it's really important as we begin our 4-year term to ensure that we are doing what we can as well to be responsible to the schedule for ourselves, for our colleagues, for the public, for administration. Every extension is a cost, both to the city of Edmonton and also the cost to rework our own schedules. Especially when childcare is involved. And so I just want to make that point. I will vote in favor of this, and I will do my very best to stay so that I do not miss votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Anyone else to speak? Councillor Tang to close.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, please vote. I'm a yes.
Thank you. We have all the votes.
Please display the votes. And that is carried. Okay, moving back to the item at hand, which is 7.1. Can we pull up that list?
Showing is empty on our side.
Okay. So nobody else to ask questions on 7.1? Just to speak. Now, this is, I understand that we're not, I'm still a bit confused, so I'm going to take the liberty of a couple seconds. If we don't have a motion on the floor, what do we have to speak to?
Sorry, I thought there was a motion that I received this for information.
No, but then, but this is where Andrew said that we're changing the process this term from what was last time. So I'm just trying to.
That would be exactly correct. If there's nothing to speak to, then once your questions are done, you can declare that the item has been dealt with and we will move on.
Okay.
Well, sorry.
That I'm gonna accept a motion from Councillor Tang to receive for information.
Okay, you're the chair.
I'm the chair, unless anybody wants to challenge that. And then is there a seconder on that motion? I'd love to. And Councillor Jan seconds that motion. Okay, so we have the motion for receipt of information, and I think we could have a bigger conversation with the chair, because I think that's going to hinder us a lot if we can't speak to items at council that are information only. Anyone else to speak to this item? Please sign up. So if you'd like to speak to, so this is whether you're not going to support it, you're going to support it, you have thoughts on this report and the RFP process. This is anytime you want to basically say something that's not in a question form about the item at hand. Okay, I see Councillor Salvador on the floor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will be brief. You know, I think this is just one step, and that there is going to be a further conversation about this once we have further information. So, you know, recognizing that, one of the things that really stood out to me in the report was the section on, you know, potential risks, and how do we mitigate those risks to make sure that at the end of the day we are ensuring that whatever models are brought forward are really centering public benefit, and making sure that that is at all times held to a really high standard. So that's what I will leave it at today, recognizing this isn't a decision point, but looking forward to seeing what types of projects and opportunities might be brought forward. Thank you.
Yeah, and before I go to Councillor Tang, I'll just take a couple minutes to speak too. I didn't have any questions. I was very excited. I think, you know, as we've been experiencing and discussing growth pressures as a city, we know we need to think outside of the box and we need to be creative. And so I think this is a great opportunity to do a little bit of a test with the market to see what is potential. We don't know, and I think it's really exciting to see what comes back. So I'm excited and selfishly excited that two of them are in the ward. I think the Woodcroft Library branch, while not at the top, as Councillor Principe said, is highly overutilized, one of the highest volumes. So seeing if there's potential creativity there, it was a missed opportunity in my perspective, that it wasn't co-located with the Coronation Rec Center. So I'm excited to see that one. And as we've talked about, for those that are returning, the service standards and response times in Ward and Ilnik are in a state where we need to make sure that those fire halls are really there. So if we can do it in a way that gets us more with some creative solutions, I'm all for it. So thank you so much for the original mover bringing this report, that led to this report, for bringing this creative solution forward so we can have this teed up for the 4-year budget, and look forward to seeing what comes back. I'll go to Councillor Tang now to close.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and appreciate my colleagues' indulgence. This was supposed to be a half day, and I think the agenda could be planned better so we can end on time. You know, this is a continuation of the conversation we had last term, so I do want to provide some context and maybe remind my returning colleagues and provide a context for my new colleagues around why this is here. So this is a motion, part one of a two-part motion that I worked on with then Councillor Carmel. And there's been a lot of conversations with administration on this, so I really appreciate administration side for working on this. And it stemmed with a project in my ward that really piqued my interest with the Covenant Wellness Center. That took a little bit different approach to plan, not just of a physical center itself, but a much broader master planning for, that particular part of the neighborhood. Working with a private sector partner, it wasn't exactly a straightforward P3, but it was an alliance model project that came in under budget, ahead of schedule, and managed inflationary pressures at a time when I was not aware of any other infrastructure delivery project that managed those inflationary pressures. So it piqued my interest, and I wanted to know how we could apply this at the city where it made sense. We kind of dug into it a few times and had a bit of back and forth. And what is a little bit different here than typically how we think about infrastructure is that it's not just constrained within the geographic footprint. We're thinking about how can a fire hall or a library serve as an economic catalyst? How can it attract perhaps private investment? Or I think at the time at the infrastructure committee, Councillor Jans had a really interesting example of the university as a partner. How can we leverage these additional opportunities through land, through investment, to stimulate other types of projects that we might not ever really consider, perhaps? The city of Edmonton has a very long list of renewal, and that we know that's going to be priority. And yet at the same time, we're growing fast. And even some of our current amenities are not meeting some of that demand. And I think we have to be open to options, and we have to be able to think outside the box in terms of how we deliver them. And so, how can a city project stimulate additional transit-oriented development, market housing, as well as affordable housing? How can we think about landscaping and some of the environmental infrastructure that we can include in there? And so I think I'm actually really excited about the opportunities presented here. One of the key pieces is about engaging partners very early in the conversation. And I think that conversation has happened, maybe not formalized, but it provides a basic foundation. And then the next stage, the RFEOI isn't going to be binding, but it will create the opportunity. And I will caution around putting too much constraint in that. I think the more conditions we put in, less likely it would invite much broader blue sky thinking. And we don't really know what other opportunities might come. None of this is going to be free, of course, but I think it will at least invite additional investments that we might not otherwise have, or it may not. We don't know. And so I'm looking forward to what's going to emerge and how it can meet our infrastructure demand. And I think my colleagues have talked about the public value, and I will also say we reserve the power to negotiate, to ask questions, and to make sure that the deal is the best for the public, and it can hit multiple goals as well. And so I think this kind of a co-investment approach is something that's worth considering and worth exploring. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this, and I look forward to when the next stage returns. And I'm also looking forward to hearing what conversation comes up in the community as well, as this becomes public and a broader conversation. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Please vote on receipt of information.
Councillor Stevenson is yes.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. We have all the votes.
Please display the votes. And that is carried. And now I will go on. We have covered all of our items for today. So I will go to motions pending, and if we can just hold that one over until the next council meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. And then are there any notices of motion or motions without customary notice? I'm seeing none. We are adjourned. Thank you.